Hi.
Technical difficulties.
Welcome back to Books and Beers. Zach?
Books and beers. Tom, what are you drinking tonight?
Hey, I'm drinking a beautiful Sapporo Namaburu. But it also says like Haposhu right here. But I'm not sure what the title is. It's a special Sapporo that we're enjoying tonight.
6% alcohol.
Holy
I'm
crap.
also drinking a Sapporo Draft 1. Super and sharp and clear.
Mhm.
Only 5%, but it seems to be some winter specials.
Yeah. Hey,
Cheers to
cheers,
that.
Zach. Okay, so
Really
we
does feel like a draft beer.
okay, so
Really
we
does feel like a draft beer. Nice.
yeah, this is pretty good too. So anyway, Zach and I realized while we were setting up that Zach went last time. However, he was really excited about this book. It also, the writer of it appeared in a newspaper that we both look at in our office. So he really wanted to present today. So Zach, what are we talking about?
Talking about AI Superpowers, China, Silicon Valley, and the New World Order by Mr. Kai-Fu Lee, who was the founding president of Microsoft Asia,
That's right.
and also the founding president of Google China as well. So kind of a really well-respected man in the tech industry. I guess, yeah.
Okay, cool. So we really like to talk about China. Zach really likes to talk about technology in the future. So, and
China.
Kai-Fu Lee, right? My pronunciation's
Kai-Fu
okay?
Lee.
Kai-Fu Lee, I'm very sorry if I'm wrong. What did he say in the book? Why should I read it?
Well, for me, I wanted to read it. I've read several books about AI, and I thought, okay, another book about AI. Why should I read this? He's Taiwanese. He's Taiwanese. He grew up in America.
Yeah.
From when he was 11, and then he moved to China.
Yeah.
And he's lived in China ever since. And he claims, so I'm Chinese now. So what I'm interested in is, as you said, technology. Right, rising power. So I thought it would be interesting to read, to get a perspective about AI from the Chinese side. And it's very common that I read books and they're from Europeans, World Economic Forum, Harari, he's Israeli, and some MIT guys, Andrew McAfee and things such as that, people such as that, all Western people. So I wanted to get a Chinese perspective about it and see if they can. If the U.S. and China can avoid some Thucydidestrap.
Okay, cool. That's an SAT word. I have no idea. Well, I had no idea what it meant until Zach was practicing how to say it. But he's going to tell us exactly what that means. What is that word?
Yeah,
what is the trap?
So the trap is where an existing superpower has conflict with a rising power. And that is the trap.
I gotcha.
Right? I'm not going to go into much detail further than that. So that's the trap where a rising power has conflict with an existing power.
Like Germany versus Great Britain in World War One.
Sure. Yeah. China and the U.S. now, maybe with some trade war things going on. The U.S. is becoming more confrontational with the Chinese about it. So
yes,
that's one reason why I was interested in reading this book. Another one was because I wanted to get a Chinese perspective about it. So I definitely got a Chinese perspective, and there's definitely a clash in values from a Western perspective versus a Chinese perspective, and he's very blunt in the first, I think it's just 6 chapters, about why he believes that China has the edge in AI development. The U.S. is the leader in scientific research, but in implementation of AI, he says China has the edge for that, specifically with data, specifically with the entrepreneurship culture of the Chinese. And then he goes into vast detail about the tactics and business culture of China, which definitely clashes with Western values about Silicon Valley wants to change the world, make the world a better place. Chinese, what it all boils down to is money. Kai-Fu Lee gives a great example. I want to say on this broadcast, a great example about one contestant on a famous Chinese dating show says, "I'd rather cry in the back of a BMW than be happy on a bicycle."
That's heavy.
And that's I guess that could kind of sum up the Chinese mind about business. And personally, I think that's very dangerous, especially when dealing with the technology such as AI, which we can say for like the wrap up of this session. We can talk about that more. So that's why you should read the book, definitely, for the Chinese perspective. And it was quite difficult for me to continue to read because I'm American, so obviously I have these American values, and when you hear something that definitely goes against your values and what you cherish, then it does kind of churn your stomach a bit.
I gotcha.
When reading it. Yeah.
And I think that's something that like that makes me really curious about reading that as well. Just because like even off camera, the amount of passion this got out of you, I mean, I was like, wow, okay, this is serious, this is interesting, which is why I was really excited about, skipping my turn and talking about this time.
Well, he does highlight some Chinese entrepreneurs, specifically, I can't recall his name, but he founded Rinrin, which it's called the Chinese Facebook.
Yeah.
And then also that kind of failed. And he was talking about his tactics of copying the source code for Facebook, even when on the site it said like a Mark Zuckerberg production on the Chinese version of the site.
Yeah.
Which from a Western mindset is definitely like, okay, why are you praising this? Or maybe he's just being blunt about that's how it is in China. And I mean, I think you see that a little bit from the Trump administration saying like that has to stop now, this clash of values. And I think that's where the Thucydidestrap will rise from, is this stealing, or maybe the Chinese say they don't steal, but stealing of intellectual property and kind of transfer of technology from companies wanting to do business in China as well. And then he goes on to talk about the man made a Groupon knockoff. Same man made a Groupon knockoff, but the company survived like 5,000 other Groupon copycats.
Yeah.
And then now it has evolved into something else, and the man is a billionaire. And from my mindset, my Western mindset, I'm still thinking, okay, I can't respect this man. I don't. But then from Kai-Fu Lee's perspective, in the Chinese mind, he's a billionaire.
Yeah.
Which he is a billionaire, and that's very respectable in China.
Yeah.
So definitely a clash of cultures for me, and values, and what is just and right in the world, and what the world should be. And I think that's a very important question, specifically with AI, because it could determine which path the world travels down.
Yeah. So, and when we talk about AI and everything, and that was like the big purpose of the book. So, like, what are they talking about with AI? What are they saying? What do they think is going to happen?
So he spends the first few chapters talking about the competitive advantage of China, and also it's the scrappiness of entrepreneurship, but also the kind of lax attitude about like privacy as well. And so like the implementation of that, data is the new oil, and China definitely has the data. And so, I mean, he spends the first 6 chapters talking about that. But then he goes into kind of, which what I thought the book would be originally is talking about AI. So kind of standard, from my perspective, standard things that I've read in several other books, talking about how AI can replace jobs. And that's where the tone of the book, for me, a little bit kind of changed. The first half of it, I was like, oh my God. Like, really?
Yeah.
I don't get shocked easily or disgusted. I didn't want to say that word on this broadcast, but I didn't get right out, like, disgusted about these things. But I guess just a clash of my values that I was being confronted with in the book really kind of churned my stomach a bit. And so the latter half of the book, he goes on to talk about the changes that AI could impose, or probably will impose upon people, and the elimination of jobs. And he starts going to talk about empathy which is what a lot of these AI books talk about, is like the basic human trait that people need to have in the fourth industrial revolution or in the age of AI, whatever you want to call it, is empathy. And from reading the first half of his book, I really question, do Chinese people have the empathy? If they are to be the leaders, will they have the empathy necessary that the world needs? If the most important thing is money, I can't see it, or I think it will be very challenging times and lots of confrontations because of that.
So, it's something that whenever this topic comes up, it makes me feel very, very uneasy because we're once again a clash of ideas, a clash of like ideologies, a clash of morals. But yeah, I mean, it's very important. We're moving into a new era, so.
And then he goes on to talk about, is it right, is it wrong? I don't know if it's kind of justifying the Chinese way, that, the Western culture and Western countries, they have their way, we have our way of doing things. But in an interconnected world, there has to be some kind of give and take and compromise. Otherwise, you're going to run into this Thucydidestrap. He wraps up the book by putting a personal touch on it, and this is where he starts talking about empathy a lot. He went to Taiwan to get a checkup for cancer, and he found out he had stage 4 cancer.
Yeah.
And then he started having these emotional conflicts inside himself about, I spent too much time working. I have these followers on Webio, which is like the equivalent of Chinese Twitter. To get that expression.
Excuse me for laughing.
Well, I mean, he does talk in the book, like, now these companies are not known as like the Facebook of China, the Twitter of China. He claims that they have out-innovated.
Yeah. Like Macau compared to like Las Vegas. I mean, Macau's way bigger.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, again, another clash of values.
Yeah.
For that, and he starts talking about empathy, and have I not paid enough attention to my family, or not paid enough attention to what matters in the world, my family. And so he does kind of leave it on a personal note for that. So I think this book is important to read to kind of get the Chinese mindset. And I'll give another example of a Chinese mindset. I was recently listening to World Economic Forum. They were having like I don't know if it was summer Davos or fall Davos in China. And the topic was AI. It was a Chinese moderator and several members of Chinese business community or Politburo government officials, and then one Western AI scientist. And the woman finished the question on what I thought was kind of a disgusting question as well. Yeah. Who will win the AI race? And all the Chinese participants said, China, 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 hands down. And the Western man said, well, I think that's the wrong question to ask. That it should not be who will win the AI race, it's how will we approach this AI problem opportunity and how to govern it. Yeah. And I think that's the most important. It's not a competition, but a kind of a world-changing technology problem opportunity that people face, and it should not be viewed as we are better. We get the money from a Western standpoint. See, from a Western standpoint,
a greedy capitalist.
It should not be like that. So, I think there's going to be some clashes.
Yeah, it's something that, like, with this book, it was really special because while you were reading this, it was a conversation we were having continuously, and even hearing you speak about it, where it struck a chord with you. I mean, it makes me super curious. I want to read it myself.
Yeah, so that's why we do books and beers. Kind of expand your mind. Always say that. And so Kai-Fu Lee, thank you for the book and your contributions to AI and technology.
But yeah.
I've been Zach.
Hey, this is Phil Tom.
And this is Books and Beers.
Cheers.